Hello, and welcome to another episode of Living in the Good Space. I am the producer and host, and as I always say, I'm super excited about my show today. I know I say that all the time, but I just can't help it. My guests are so wonderful, and ever since I booked this gentleman, I have just been anticipating this conversation. So let me tell you a little bit about my special guest today. First of all, this is my official first celebrity guest, so I'm super excited about that. But let me tell you a little bit about who he is. So he attended an HBCU, Shaw University, where he majored in communication media. He is a co-founder and executive director of 211 Community Impact, which is based in Newark, New Jersey. And he is born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. And dare I not say that he is Brenda's son. He is the legendary one-third of the Platinum Award-winning hip-hop group Lords of the Underground. He is an accredited Screen Actors Guild actor and the member of the Actors Equity Association. He has been in a number of TV shows, and I'll name a few that I'm sure you're familiar with: 30 Rock, Law and Order, Sopranos, and Oz. I can't wait to have this conversation with him today. And let me tell you, I'm not only a forever fan of him and all of his great accomplishments, but I call him friend. Welcome, Dupré L. Kelly.
Hey. See, I had to throw the Shaw University hat on, right? HBCU.
Yes. Newark, born and raised.
That's right.
Listen,
How you doing?
I had to throw your mom a shout out there, Brenda's son.
Man, thank God you did.
Listen, I know better.
That'll keep off my back for maybe another week.
I know better. Thank you so much. I know that you are so busy and you have your hands in so many things, but thank you so much for agreeing to spend a few minutes with me tonight on my new podcast, Living in the Good Space. So
congratulations. Congratulations.
Listen, this was
so happy for you.
This was a labor of love. It's just not as easy as it looks. I watch so many people that I admire in this space and they make it look so easy. And I'm like, oh, I could do that. A year later.
Yeah.
It does require a lot of time and effort. So shout out to all of my role model podcasters out there because they make it look so easy. So listen, I want to jump right in because
shout out to everybody with podcasts out there.
Yes, they're making it look so easy.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to jump right in, and you've accomplished so much. You started out in this business, the entertainment business, at an early age, right? You got your first record deal as a teenager. Mm-hmm. You were a teenager, so
yeah, I was just turning 19.
Yeah. So you were young.
I was just turning 19.
Yeah. And look at you. Here you are today, still doing great things. What have you learned? Like when you take 5 minutes to sit down and breathe and you think back over your life from those very early days to now, what is it that you have learned about yourself or about life in general?
Man, that's a very heavy question because I just turned 50 about a month ago.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Happy 50th.
Thank you. And it seems like, and I had friends tell me, Redman to be one of them, when you turn 50, it's all going to change. Your thought process is going to change. Your mentality is going to change. And I'm like, whatever. I swear it's just like something just clicked.
Yes.
So when you ask, about when you ask that question, it's just like, what have I learned? I've learned so much. I've learned who I am. I've learned who I am not. And I've just learned so many things, so many vast things. I learned that I don't know it all. I've learned that learning is infinite.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I'm still learning at this age, but now I'm really coming to the understanding that I probably have more years behind me than I actually have ahead of me.
Listen, I say that a lot. It's like, listen, I have no time to waste. I plan on being around for a while, but I have no more time to waste.
You know what I have learned though? like I've just come to understand that I've been doing a lot of reflection, just on myself of who I was, in the first part of my life, because I consider this the second part of my life. So now I'm getting an understanding. And I remember a story about, I think it was in the history books that I read somewhere, when the Moors attacked the Spaniards at the Rock of Gibraltar. And when they came to the shoreline, all of the Moors burnt their boats before they went to fight the Spanish, to fight the Spaniards. And I just thought, if somebody came to fight me and they burned their only way home, they're not coming to play.
Oh no. Oh no.
And I'm sure that they do want to go home. And the only way to get there is to come take what we have. And so I thought of that mentality. And I said, you know what? In my second part of my life, anything that I approach, anything that I am dealing with that I consider a fight, that I have to fight for, that I consider war, that I have to battle for, I am pulling up to the shorelines, I'm lining up my boats, and I am burning them.
Wow.
So when I come to deal with anything, I am not playing. I am going to give it 100 and 200,000%. So I am burning the ships at the shore.
Listen, that's powerful right there, because, and the other thing that you said that's powerful is that you know who you're not. We don't talk about that, right? When we hit those milestones, we usually say, oh, I know who I am now. Let me tell you where the power is, knowing who you are not.
Oh, yeah. I am not that guy when it comes to certain things anymore that I thought I was back then.
Yes.
I'm not that guy,
It's interesting to hear you say this, because I wasn't sure if it's a woman's perspective or not, but a lot of women that I talk to that are older than I am, and they said, oh, wait until you turn 50. You have not seen nothing. Like some things are going to click. And then I turned 60 in September, and it was like, oh,
congratulations.
Thank you. You thought turning 50 was something? Let me tell you, dude, I turned 60, and I know who I'm not, but sometimes I don't know who I am. Because my perspective has changed so much. And the pandemic helped to make some shifts too, right? Who hasn't shifted during this pandemic? And all the social injustices. And for me, I'm a boomer, right? So a lot of the stuff, I'm a baby boomer. A lot of the stuff that's happening today, I remember sitting in my grandparents' living room, listening to them as they watched it on television. So it's like, really? Like, this is like this 360 moment, in my life.
Yeah.
But you're also a globetrotter, right? And so I live vicariously through you sometimes. I follow you on social media, and I'm like, where is you now? and I know that the pandemic put a damper on travel for everyone. But what has traveling the globe taught you? Like, what have you learned getting outside of your hometown, your immediate area, and just, being able to see the world, literally?
Man, and that I really have to say, going to a HBCU changed my life. Just having that experience, having a mindset of never going anywhere, coming from Newark, New Jersey, and going to a place where there are many people, male and female, that that's doing the same thing that you're doing, traveling to a foreign place, and having all of those interactions and starting to understand people differently. Like when you don't travel, you only see what's in front of you. You only get to the information that's in front of you. And I just believe information changes situations, right? Yeah. So if you have that information, and you can only do but what that information offers around you. So as I went to Shaw University, I got to meet people from Florida, Chicago, and North Carolina, and so many different perspectives. And it made me have a different outlook. If I thought that, oh, us in Newark, we dress better than you guys because you're country, or we talk better than you because you're this. And realizing that they might talk a little different, dress a little different, but we have some of the same plights in our communities. Some of the same things that's happening in Jacksonville, Florida is happening in Newark. Yeah. Some of the same things that's happening in Flint, Michigan, or Chicago is happening in Newark. So it gave me a broader understanding by going to school. That was my first traveling. But then when I got my deal, man, when I say the world opened up, literally it did, because I learned so much at my HBCU. And like I said, shout out to everybody from Shaw University. But Shaw University did not teach me how to live in the world. And that's literally live in the world, not just live in Newark, New Jersey or the surrounding area, but being in Lords of the Underground afforded me the opportunity to go to places that I used to only see on postcards, but not just see them, but gave me a chance to interact with their community, gave me a chance to interact with the people who live there. And by doing that, by going to impoverished neighborhoods, by going to poor countries where the entire country is poor, not just a section of the state or the city, it gave me a different perspective. And it said, wow, here it is, their government or their people is promoting us to come to them, to give them some feel-good moments, to, music and laughter and all of that type of stuff. So I said, they're paying me for that. So why can't I do this in my own neighborhoods, in my own city, in my own state, without being paid for it? But traveling the world there's no better teacher than experience. You used to hear that when you were younger, like, oh, experience is the best teacher.
Yes.
Man, if you haven't experienced traveling, then you haven't received a tenth of the information that you can receive to change your world, to change your life. And traveling probably was one of my best teachers ever in my life.
Listen, I have to say ditto to that. And President Obama, I heard him speak once, and he said the best teachings that him and Michelle gave their daughters were travel, giving them that opportunity to see different parts of the world. And I'm born and raised in Newark as well. And my job, I wound up in a career that gave me the opportunity to travel. And it wasn't until I started traveling that I realized this world is not as big as you think it is. It's like you leave Newark Airport and, on an app, you can go anywhere in the world from Newark Airport. It's
anywhere from Newark Airport.
Like 1 minute you're in downtown Newark, and then the next minute you're like literally across the world.
That's right.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think travel definitely opens us up and gives us different perspectives. So, I want to talk to you about 211, your nonprofit organization. It's based in Newark. Tell us about the vision and mission of the organization.
Oh man, shout out to everybody that works with me at 211, because I could not do it without the team. 211 Community Impact is a nonprofit organization that it was the nonprofit side of a media company that I started. I started this media company with one other partner who's no longer with the company. And then I met a doctor friend who was doing some literacy education things in Newark, New Jersey, who kind of suggested that, dude, you're doing all of these things in the neighborhood. Why don't you start a nonprofit? And I had been doing it for years, but I never looked for any process of people knowing what I was doing. I was just doing the work and not being credited for it. And she was like, no, you need to do this. So we started a nonprofit organization that was based around literacy and impacting the community, hence the name 211 Community Impact. And we've done numerous things, from eat good, feel good programs, look good, feel good programs, Let's Eat program, where we feed over 1,000 families and seniors. The Look Good, Feel Good program, we cut over 500 males' hair. We send the young ladies out with grooming at salons with other women, but not just to go get them groomed. We'll send seniors, elders with the young ladies. So now you can kind of connect the youth to the seniors, and they can, by getting pampered, their hair done, nails done, but mostly having a conversation with each other. So an elder lady talking to the young ladies, and we do it vice versa with the men, teach them how to tie ties. We do literacy events at school. We have after school programs that we do, where we teach creative writing. We teach them how to work engineer boards and DJing, and all through arts and culture. We do so many different things. We do Christmas programs where we give away books, clothes, and at all our programs, we try to give away something that has a literacy component to it.
Right.
So we give books away. It's not just a crutch in the neighborhood, because I feel like if I see a guy or a family or a female that comes to me every single year or every single program, we help them, but I pull them to the side. Like I just had a fellow that I was talking to, and I pulled him to the side. I said, yo, this is the 6th time that you've been here. Mm-hmm. Like, what's really going on with you? Because it makes me feel like my program is not working, right. That our program, because if we're just being a crutch for you, then that defeats the purpose. We're supposed to fill that gap, fill that void while you're going through whatever hard times that you're going through. So we do all of that in the community. We partner with local organizations. One thing that we did when we first started 211 Community Impact is we went around to the other local advocates and nonprofits to see what they were involved in. Mm-hmm. It's almost like respecting the neighborhood. You can't sell shirts or be on these blocks or do these things unless you go around to the people who are already there. So I wanted to show my support and show my respect to the companies and the people who have been doing work before I've even come into the game to try to do work. And just so I can get the respect from them and they can see that I'm not trying to step on your toes. And if you need help, let me assist you. And that worked wonders. That worked so great because it allowed us to build a rapport. It allowed us to get people to understand what we were doing, so it just worked out so well. So 211 Community Impact, we are a community-based organization, but I can't no longer say community-based because with the success of Laws of the Underground, it took the notoriety around the world. So we get people who send a $20 check from Slovakia or, wow. a $10 cash app from Russia, and people just say, I just want to be involved in the community work that you're doing. So I said, wow, here it is, because they love the music and the entertainment that I bring to the table. Mm-hmm. So that makes them want to support my community because they see the way that I support the community. And that is big for me. That takes us from a small community organization to an actual worldwide organization.
Well, I got a little bit of a news flash for you. It's not just that. It's what they see in you as the person, because you have this way about you that makes people want to know, what are you doing and how can I support you and how can I get involved? And so that's a testament to who you are as a person. And I think, for me knowing you, I mean, first of all, you're a friend to my family, right? But
I love your family. Just to be clear, I love
we love you. We love you. But the thing that I love most about you is who you are as a person. And, you're a leader in the community. You're not just a celebrity person. You're not just someone who travels the world and doing what you love to do in terms of, the group that you're a part of. You are the type of person that gives back to your community. I follow you. I mean, there is not a season that comes that you're not out there doing something, whether it's Thanksgiving, whether it's Christmas, whether we're in the middle of a snowstorm, the pandemic, whatever is happening, whatever season comes through, you don't change. You're there and you're always giving. And I want to know, what inspires you to do what you do? Because I think it's so easy for you to focus on what you do, right? You've got this whole media company, you're working on some major projects, you travel in a very tight circle of very well-known people, but yet you're so humble and you're out here every day rolling up your sleeves, doing what you do. So what motivates you? What inspires you?
There's so many different things that motivate me, that it has motivated me throughout the years. I have mentors. At this age, at this time, I still have mentors and I still need mentors. Early on, I think the thing that made me really get into community was a brother by the name of Hafiz Fareed. He was my manager early on. Well, first of all, I mean, just to be transparent, you said that I'm friends with your family. People don't realize that your husband was a great mentor to me. And what I mean by that, and still to this day, what I mean by that is at 10, 11 years old, when I lived on the number block, 19th Street in the West Ward of Newark, New Jersey. He literally came to my block. I don't remember exactly what he saw me doing, but he asked us, it was a couple of us, you guys want to play baseball? I don't know. We said something slick, and he probably said something slick back, and we realized, oh, this guy's kind of cool, you know. And long story short, he wound up taking me to my house, ringing my bell, and told me to go get my mother, you know. And my mother came out, and he told, I'm taking your son to Velsburg Park to play baseball, and I promise you, I'll make sure that he gets back and forth. And I just thought, like, wow, this guy doesn't know me. Like, who is this guy to do that? So that, I mean, that is one of the first, you know, to believe in somebody who's just from the neighborhood, to have them believe in you out of nowhere, because you had to prove yourself. Even at that age, for me, in the neighborhood, nobody was just doing anything for you. So we had to, you know, we kind of looked at him like, is he serious? Is he real? And he proved to be, you know, everything that he said he would do, he did it. Nothing more, nothing less. He did it. And that's why so it gave me the insight to respect those type of guys and to follow those type of guys, because I didn't have a biological father around. And at that age, my mother had just divorced from my stepfather, who stayed in my life, but he wasn't in the home. He wasn't present. So as a young male growing up with a Black single mom in a impoverished community, you know, male figures, we need men in our life to help us understand what a man is. So I gravitated to people like Rufus Johnson. I gravitated to people like Shake, who was the best rapper on my block, but not because he can rap the best, because he rapped good and he looked fly while doing it. So I wanted to be that, you know, you know, and I don't want this to sound crazy to the listeners, but there were people who were doing it, who were dealing in street pharmaceuticals, which is not a good thing. Let me just be clear, that is not a good thing. But one thing about that inspired me was not the selling of drugs, but the inspiration of a man who is trapped where it seems like no place to go, and he figures out a way to exit that problem, even if it's a negative way. Just the mentality, and to have the intelligence to escape a problem, that inspired me from those guys who were doing negative things out there, you know. So I had those guys. But then as I got into high school, before high school, I had another guy, Mr. Ibokwe. I went to a school named.
Oh my God! Remember when we made that connection?
Oh, right.
Because he was my 8th grade teacher.
He was my 8th grade teacher as well. So he was a big inspiration to me. Yeah. You know, he took a handful of us, about 5 of us, and made sure that we stayed on the right track. And these days, you probably can't do it, because a teacher can't invite these young children to their homes and all of that type of stuff.
It's a different time.
You have to be careful of that. But that was a different time, you know, and he was really just taking 5 young men that he saw was intelligent enough to go one way, but also intelligent enough that if they were pushed the other way, could be, you know, just like there's superheroes, there's super criminals, super villains too, you know. So he didn't want us to become that super villain. So he prepared me. And I'm saying all of these step by step because they each played a part in my development and in my growth. So after high school, Mr. Ibokwe is one of the guys who prepared me to go to high school, you know. And when I got to high school, it was a plethora of people from. Now, Rufus Johnson with the baseball early prepared me when I got into high school with baseball and know how to deal with my baseball coach and my basketball coach and the athletic, you know, it was just amazing. But when I got out of high school, or to tail end of high school, I met this gentleman by the name of Hafiz Fareed, who actually became the manager of Lords of the Underground. And this guy pushed me in such a smooth, cool way. You know, he made me realize that I was becoming man. He made me understand what that meant in a city like Newark, New Jersey, and how to maneuver through that city and cities like that. So he was also, I believe, chief of staff for a councilman at the time named Ralph T. Grant Sr. So Ralph T. Grant Sr., since my manager, Hafiz, was working for the councilman, he would make me be involved in all of the city activities. You know, we going over here to clean up. We're going over here to feed people. We're going over here to do this. So he was teaching me the process then. And I just, you know, I fell in love with Ralph T. Grant, business suits, you know, very intelligent, you know, esteemed type of gentleman. That's how he came across to me. And he always talked eloquent and, you know, and then even when he was just having a good time, you know, he was having a good time. But he knew how to turn it on and off to me. So that's when I got into the community. Not, I want to say politics, but the community of passing out flyers, going door to door and meeting people. People don't know this either. I got into some trouble joyriding with some friends in my neighborhood, and Ralph T. Grant Sr. came to my aid. He came to the court. He told the judge and everybody that this guy is not that guy who you think he is. And he said, you know, I will put my name on the line and vouch for this guy. Matter of fact, you know, and when I got in trouble, I lost all my baseball scholarships, and Ralph T. Grant came and said, I will get you in the school that I went to. I will get you at a HBCU, Shaw University. So I went to Shaw University because of Ralph T. Grant. I pledged Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated because he was an Alpha. Wow. And I saw what the Alphas was doing. So, and this is what I mean about those male influences every step of the way. And then after getting in Lords of the Underground, my manager, Hafiz Fareed, again, who was still working for Ralph T. Grant, made sure that the more popular we got, the more that we were embedded into our community. You know, if we can galvanize millions of people to buy records, we can galvanize the people in our city to hear words about rent control, to hear words about homelessness, to hear words about fighting against drugs and youth pregnancy and all of that type of stuff. So we did. So when I started to work when I was in Lords of the Underground because I had the platform, I had television, I had magazines. He taught me how to use the media to get across the word for your community. So I was like, wow, I didn't even realize that then. And, you know, so those were the mentors, and that's how I got into doing a lot of different things for the community.
Well, the city of Newark has birthed so much Black excellence. I mean, the list is so long, I dare not start name dropping because there are just so many that have come out of the city that have gone on to become very famous. And I think the one thing that you all have in common is that reach and that connection back into your community. Like, I don't know of anyone who has come out of the city of Newark, and there's some pretty big names that is still not connected to this community in some way. And so I applaud you and everyone for what, you know, for your efforts and what you do there. Because your life is not just about you.
I have to give props to Amiri Baraka Sr. too. Because, and the reason why I have to give props to Amiri Baraka Sr., because even though I'm born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, I moved to Paris, France for 1 year. I moved to Brooklyn for 2 years. And I moved to California for 1 year. And I was living in California for a year. And I came back here to do a music video with Ice-T and Naughty by Nature. So I'm sitting on the curb and Amiri Baraka comes, and we had the real gang Bloods and the Crips out there. You know, the real Bloods and Crips. But we had a truce for the day so we can shoot the video. So Amiri Baraka is driving down Clinton Avenue and he pulls over. He gets on the curb with me and I called him OG. And he's like, do it all. He's like, come here. He's like, what's going on out here? And I said, no, OG, we have a truce for the day. The Bloods and the Crips, you won't have any problem out here with shooting a music video. So he sat on the curb with me. He said, wow. He said, that's powerful. He said, you have the Bloods and the Crips out here and it's a truce for the day? He said, do you understand how powerful that is? And I'm not thinking, I'm like, no, not really. We're just shooting a music video. And he said, well, look, young brother, you need to pitch your bucket where you lay. And I said, pit my bucket where I lay. Now, remember, I'm living in California at this time. I said, what do you mean? And just to fast forward, he said, just take, for instance, he said, it's okay to go away and acquire the knowledge. He said, you must go away and acquire the knowledge. But he said, when you become he said, let's say you go away and you become a brain surgeon. You become the best brain surgeon in the world or in the country. He said, and you take your superpowers to LA. You know, because I was living in LA, to see the Sinai Hospital. He said that you've just changed the economy and the development of hotels, restaurants, that hospital, and all of those things around that hospital. I was like, yeah. He said, yes, because your expertise, people are flying in, people are traveling in, people who live there are coming to you when they need your expertise. He said, that's a superpower. He said, but imagine if you, from Newark, New Jersey, he said, I see you with your Newark hats on and Newark on your shirts, and I see you in the interviews, you're Newark, 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 but you live in California right now. He said, that's cool from a distance, but when you're hands-on, when people can touch you, when you can fertilize and water that seed of that grew you, he said that it's a difference. He said, if you came back with that same superpower and took it to University Hospital, then you've just done the same thing for Newark. You've changed the economic powers in the hotels, restaurants, and apartments, and in the hospital. And I didn't think about it that way, and I just was like, wow. I promise you, and probably like 2 months, 3 months later, I was back home in Newark, New Jersey, and I never left. And he made me really just kind of beeline my thinking about, you know what? All of the information that I received in my life, I need to give it away. The things that I don't understand or that I don't like in my community, I can't complain about it.
Right.
I said, I can't complain about it, right? I have to be able to show by example. So the thing that I do when you say you see me, and I'm just trying to be part of the whole. I'm just trying to give the information that I have to everybody else, because I never try to be the smartest person in the room or at the table. Because if I am the smartest person in the room or at the table, then I'm in the wrong room or at the wrong table. If somebody cannot tell me information and I get it, or they can't give me information that I can grow on, then I'm in the wrong place. So I just try to be that to others. And I feel like from me traveling, when we talked about learning from traveling, I learned so much. And for me to give it away from afar, it didn't mean as much as giving it hand to hand to a person. And that's what I just wanted to do. So I wanted to lead by example. Right. So I don't try to complain. And that's what people, I think, got in tune with me is no complaints. I just do. So if I don't agree with something, then I do it. I just try to fix it and just do it and put a team together to try to make it happen in a different direction, in a positive direction. And that's what people started to see, and that's what people started to hear, and they just started to just say, you know what, we like the voice that you're speaking from. So we would like for you to be the voice for the unheard. We would like you to be the voice for the voiceless. And that's what I did with 211 Community Impact, is just kind of be that voice for the people who we were not hearing.
It's so funny because we both grew up in this city, and even though we're 10 years apart, we still encountered some of the same people, right? Maybe at different times. Right. And when I look back to being young and coming up, and even when I first met my husband, I was in the room with people, I had no idea who these people were. And even until this day, it's like I'm learning about their legacies and the things that they did. I went to the African American Museum down in DC. I went last year, maybe the year before last, and it just blew me away. I believe it's the second floor, maybe the third floor, where there's this whole section about Newark. Like Baxter Terrace is there, Queen Latifah, Lord's Undergrad, like there, Amira Baraka, everybody is represented there. And it's just, It was like this sense of like, wow, this is where I'm from.
That's right. That's right.
Like I'm from Newark, born and raised. My mother was a single parent. And she came up during, the civil rights movement. I remember Black Panthers being on our block, and there's just so much history.
Much love to your mom too, man. I met your mom, man.
You also met my crazy sister. Can I tell that story?
Oh yeah.
So a regular day at our house, especially in the summer, is barbecue, right? My husband loves the barbecue. So, we're in the backyard, just having some sangria and, doing what we do. And my sister was visiting from California. And you were there and somebody else, you were with a friend of yours, but she leans over to me and she's like, do you know who that is? And I'm like, who? She's like, that guy. Do you know who that guy is? Because she grew up on your music. Me and her are 8 years apart. Now you had been coming to my house, and I think like conceptually I knew, but it wasn't like our relationship wasn't that way. You know what I mean? It's like my husband has known you since you were a little boy. And so she was about to lose her mind. She was like, no, do not tell me that you have somebody from the Lords of the Underground sitting back here in your backyard and you're gonna act like it's nothing. So she's a huge fan, a huge fan. Loves you, loves your music. But I mean,
I said hello, man.
Yeah, that's how we do, right? The summer, that's how we do. My husband had so many people that would come by the house and we just sit, talk, and it's like you don't think about, their role and how big they are, how well known, how famous they are. We just enjoy each other's company and talk and have a good time. But I ask all my guests this question, so I have to ask you, living in the good space this was birthed out of the pandemic, right? So the beginning phases, and we had some early conversations about my idea of the podcast. And I wanted to do something positive. We're all building our legacies in our own way. And I just thought, I want to do something positive, and I want to be able to do something to shift energy, because especially at the time, it was just so much negativity. You couldn't even turn the television on because everything was about the pandemic and death and just negativity. And so I wanted to have conversations with people who I believe exemplify living in the good space. And that is people who know how to thrive or cultivate spaces in their lives where they can thrive no matter where they are in life. Because the issues are going to continue to come, the stumbling blocks, the roadblocks, the things that we don't want, that we don't anticipate. So what does living in the good space mean for you? And how do you maintain it given everything that you do and you're involved with and you're connected to so many different types of people?
Man, living in a good space, that's a especially during this time, man, that's a heck of a question, because it's very important. I think the first thing that you have to do is be honest with yourself, right? And I'm speaking from my perspective of what I did during the pandemic. I had to be honest with myself. And, I've had friends who've been incarcerated for a few years, and they did a couple of times in solitaire. And that time of being alone actually changed them. Then I have friends who have mother-in-laws and grandparents who actually are alone. And I have a friend in jail, incarcerated, and a elder friend's parent or grandparent, and they are showing the same type of symptoms, I should say, of being alone. And it made me start to think that, wow, you have to be careful of that good space that you create for yourself to be alone in. Now, I'm not talking about the alone time that you want to go have time to yourself to create, or I'm just talking about being alone, your interactions with people, places, and things, and that's what the pandemic did. So being in that good space, I was happy to be in my good space, because it made me realize that saying, you can turn a house into a home. So a lot of us don't do that. We don't turn our house into a home. And what I mean by that is that 24 hours in a day, usually we get up in the morning, we're going for at least 8 to 12 hours of that day. We sleep for another 8 hours. So that's about 16 hours gone already. So you're really only in there for a little bit of time, So you have to create your good space while you're moving about. You have to create the home. And what I mean by creating the home is not just material things. I'm not talking about just the comfortable couch. I'm talking about your loved ones as well. If it's just your children, if it's your husband, heck, if it's your dog or your cat, you have to create that good energy so that when you are alone with each other, it's accepted, it's reciprocated, and it's enjoyed, and it's in a space of love. And when I said be honest with yourself, one thing that I did, it made me, being in my good space made me notice what my weaknesses were. You know, and what I found out was, I've been around music. I have a recording and audio studio in my space too. What I found out was that I am so used, I got money early on, like 19 years old. So I was, since I had no male figure in the house, I didn't have anybody telling me, come on, let's paint this wall together. Come on, let's come outside and fix this light, or change this tire, or let's go fix this on the house. So what I would do is I would always pay for it since I got money early. So it did. So by paying for it over time and after year, it didn't build up that excitement of let's go do it yourself, you know, DIY it. That didn't build up in me, you know. And what I learned was that is a weakness of mine. And I say it's a weakness because I have audio equipment. I've been around audio equipment probably over 30 years. And I own my own audio equipment and studio. But I hired somebody to come in and control it and run it. That's what being alone, when I couldn't bring anybody into the space, I couldn't hire anybody. It made me realize, like, wow, here it is, you own something, but you don't know how to work it. So is that true ownership? If you don't know how to control it, if you don't know how to operate it, if you don't know how to operate it, is it really true ownership? And I got on Google and YouTube and I started to say, and then I started to understand by looking over somebody else's shoulder for 30 years, it made me realize, hey, all right, it's coming to me. I do kind of know, but I shouldn't have to kind of know. I should know, especially since I own it. I should know. So that showed me that that's a weakness of mine. Don't own something and I'm not saying that you have to operate it every day or all the time. I'm just saying know how, so that if the pilot dies when you're in the air and it's your plane you own and you don't know how to fly it, guess what? You and your plane is going down. Wow. So I didn't want to go down in the plane. So I started to get on and figure out how I operate something that I own. And it showed me what my strength was in that same moment of showing me what my weakness is. It showed me that when I don't know, I can be honest with myself and go out and educate myself and learn it so I can strengthen my weakness, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I've learned more than I ever want to know about technology. So you know, I had a 32-year career and I never had to deal with technology. There was always somebody on my team or somebody that I could pick up the phone and call and say, I need to make this happen, or this isn't working. Can you fix this? Or can you fix that? And so when I decided to get into this space, I had to learn the Zoom and, you know, the Google Meets and all of these different apps to be able to produce these shows. And there were times where I would be so frustrated and I'm sitting in here and I'm like, oh my God, I just don't have the patience for this. Like, I don't want to do this. But then I had to lean in and I'm like, you know what? We have to be forever learners. You know, we cannot stop learning and we can't be intimidated by the things that we don't know and we don't understand, because guess what? That's what learning is. Learning is not what you know. Learning is what you don't know, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So I had to lean in and, you know, a year later, I'm like, wow, I would have never learned what I've learned over this past year if it weren't for the situation. And so I guess, like, there's so much negative and bad stuff that has come out of the pandemic. We've lost so many people. God bless their souls and the families that have lost loved ones. And at the same time, there's a lot of good that has come. You know, you talked about family and alone time. People have reconnected. I've talked to so many people who say the pandemic is the best thing that happened for me and my family. Me and my husband and my son spend so much time together, or my husband and I got to spend so much time with our kids. But before we wrap up, you know, what can we look for from you? You're entering into a new decade of age. And knowing you've got some surprises. So I'm sure we're going to be hearing about some great things. But what can we expect from you as you're moving forward?
This time in the second part of my life is going to be legacy. I want to create legacy. I want to pass down every bit of knowledge I have. If that's vast, minimal to some people, whatever it is, I want to give it to the youth. I want to just not point the finger at them and tell them what to do or what they need to do. Right. I just want to assist. I just want to direct, because I can't tell anybody my blueprint or tell them what to do, because if I do that, then they might only make it to the ceiling that I made it to. Right. By telling them that. But if I just give them direction and just, push them, inspire them, and give them inspiration, then I want them to be way better than I was, and be greater than I was. And that's all I want to do. This next chapter is about legacy. It's about documenting our story, telling our story on all platforms, because the new generation, we don't even know what they're about to create. And I want to leave something for them that they have, that they can reflect to, that they can turn back the page on and see, and just be authentic with it, so that they can be better than we were, and better than we are now. So that's where I'm going with it: legacy and documenting and teaching. Right.
Much love, dude. Thank you again. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.